Welcome to Old Guys Gentlemen's Flex Fountain Pens, episode number 89, part 1. The reason why I say it's part 1 is because there's going to be 3 parts to this, and I'll explain that as we proceed along with this review. I've gotten into this expensive habit recently of buying fairly expensive pens. This is a Mont Blanc calligraphy. And this one I didn't have to modify the nib at all, but I've been buying some other pens where I do get the nib modified for additional flex and a thinner point usually. And then I also then send it off and have some form of Urushi done. This is done by Bokumondo. She does great work. I have 2 of hers now. Okay, so this time what I wanted to do was get a pen with no clip. I don't use clips. In fact, that's not quite true. This is probably one of the few pens I use a clip with, and this is a nice, it's not a flex nib, but it's a good all-purpose nib. But I'm way off track with that. I wanted a pen with a clip. I don't use clips except for that one example. So for the most part, they sit in a little bag or something that's tucked away, if I'm traveling, that's tucked away in a bag I carry, and the clip is kind of useless. And when the Urushi is applied, the clip just gets in the way, and it narrows down the kind of pens that you can use because the clip has to be removable, relatively easily removable, at least for the Bokumondo pens. So anyhow, I was looking around for clipless pens, and one of the first things I found is, I think because of COVID, there's a little bit of shortage of pens going on. I think more and more people are discovering pens, and but I did find Franklin Christoph had this older model, and it is clipless. It's a really nice plain black long pen. Has a couple unique features. The cap is a little short compared to the overall length, but it's still actually a fairly large pen, and I like bigger pens. It also has this unique thing. I wasn't looking for this, but with a lot of the pens, you unscrew, but with this one, it's like, how much of a twist is that? Well, maybe 80 degrees, maybe a little bit more, maybe 270 at the most, and you're done. That's because of this single thread here. What I got in this, because in part 2, what I'm going to be doing is showing you this nib, but modified for flex by Michael Masuyama. So I'm getting ready to send this off to him and wait in the queue for it to be done, and when it comes back, it should be a pen capable of doing something like Spenserian with something like a triple extra fine nib. And he asked that I get a medium kind of nib, gives him a little bit more meat to work on, and the final product will be a little bit sturdier. But that's a 14 karat nib from Franklin Christoph. I don't know who makes their nibs. If I find that out, I'll post this on the screen here. It's just not a super special pen. There's a nice converter on it. It has enough threads in here that I think you could make this an eyedropper if you wanted to. Probably what I'll do is use the converter, or maybe I'll get a cartridge that fits in here and then just fill the cartridge. But that's a pretty decent sized converter. Like I said before, it's a good sized pen, capped. It's 5 7/8 inches long. It's all round except flat on one side, which kind of prevents, it doesn't prevent a whole lot. I guess if you have this off. Yeah, I don't know why they did it flat. Probably for style, because it sort of stays there if you put it down the flat side, but if it starts rolling, it looks like it's just going to roll. But I think the purpose of that was probably to keep it from rolling. Capped 5 7/8. Posted, it is a whopping 6 1/4 inches, but a very comfortable for me. I mean, that might look huge on the screen, but it feels good, feels right. It's a pretty light pen. I think this is some sort of resin. It has a nice feel. The section's like 3/8 of an inch. The barrel is about 1/2 an inch. But you don't have to have it posted. In fact, when the Urushi, which will be part 3, so once I get it back from having it modified for flex, I'll do part 2 so you can see the flex that Mike put into it. And then send it out again. And it probably won't be till much later in the year because the queue is so long. But then I'll get this back maybe around Christmas time with a cool design. In fact, let me show you the design right here. Really looking forward to that. Although I do tend to post even my Urushi pens. I got to be really careful because you don't want to create any scratches here, especially on a Urushi finish. But one of the advantages of this long body here is that's a good size pen right there, just without any posting at all. So I thought that was a nice plus to this pen. Yeah, unposted it is 5 9/16, which is a good decent size. The nib, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that. You can see, it's a fairly wet nib. Actually has a little bit of line variation when you press on it. But I would never use a pen with a tip this fat. That's right, I'm calling it fat. But let me see. Now the characteristics may change after Mike's done, but it's a pretty wet nib, at least with this ink. So I think that's it for part 1. Hope you got some value out of that, and in part 2 you'll see what it looks like. I'll try and find this page so we can compare what it looks like with flex and the finer tip, and then part 3 later in the year after the Urushi is applied to it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.